Hello everyone and welcome back to the Winners Club podcast. Now our purpose for today's freestyle is to provide perceptions on goal setting and self-love, encouraging our audience to specify and break down their goals, leading them to ultimate fulfillment and achievement. Now if you are new to the channel, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and also turn on the bell notifications. That way you're always notified of when the Winners Club uploads. And you can also find our socials that'll be linked down below in the description. We just posted an update of our new schedule as we will be posting our main episode every 3 weeks, followed on Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So please make sure to follow those. And you can also find the audio version of today's episode that'll be linked down below in the description as well. And again, we hope you all have a lovely day and an awesome week. Now let's get into today's freestyle. We're live. All right, so real quick, just to get started, I have a quick question I want to ask you both. I mean, we all have experience with, setting goals. And I think most of the time I've done this before. I don't know about you guys, but I think a lot of people set unrealistic goals and expect it to happen really quickly, whether that's, I want to be a millionaire within a year or being a CEO within a company within a year. And I just wanted to ask you, most of the time, why do you think we find ourselves sort of trying to reach these unexpected goals? Do you think it's our mentality or something physically or both? Or do you think most of the time is it controllable or uncontrollable or, just the course of life?
I feel that it's a really good question. I feel that people struggle to break down goals. They set one goal and expect that to be the only thing. But when we look at something like, for me, I have a large goal of wanting to go to grad school in New York, preferably NYU. I want to do that, but first I have to bring up my GPA, and then first I have to get really good letters of recommendation, then I have to get accepted. So there's a bunch of minuscule goals that I have to do. I mean, you can even break it down further. I have to be consistent on waking up and doing my homework. I have to be consistent on getting good grades and studying hard for my exams. So you have to make these little semi-checkpoints, and they may seem so minuscule and be like, oh, why do I got to do that? For your example, Brett, you said being a millionaire in a year. It could start with waking up and making your bed. It's a small daily habit that needs chopping wood and carrying water, literally. You have to do the little things to perfect the little things first to then progress. And mastery, that's what it is when you're trying to obtain a goal, is you want to master the pathway of what you're pursuing. Mastery moves in constants, not, levels. It's constantly flowing. It's not like, gonna go up and then way down and stay there forever. No, it's like you hit plateaus, you go up, but it's always constantly moving. There's no stoppage. You can choose to stop, obviously, but that's pretty much all I gotta say. I want to hear what you say, Miles, because I know you definitely got some good shit.
Like you said, I honestly think it's both, because obviously you have to have a good mentality in order to reach these goals, but there's different components in today's life that just helps you without you even realizing it. Like we talked before, we started the podcast, Brett, how you were saying how people wake up and complete goals and you don't even realize it. Like, for example, you get up and you go to work. That may not be your goal, but that's somebody else's goal, because somebody else's goal is to get a job. So you're already getting up and completing something so small to help you get towards the bigger part, right? Like you said, you want to be a big CEO, right? Well, what's the first thing you got to do? You got to go to work. Got to put in the hard work. You got to do all that kind of stuff. But while you're doing that, you got to have a good mentality, you have a strong mentality, because if you go in there saying everything needs to be perfect, X, Y, and Z needs to be perfect, it's going to beat you down and kind of make it harder for you to really reach that goal. But if you go into it very relaxed, very, you keep your composure and you have this plan, you write down your goals, you journal, you do other stuff, have a strong mentality, you have a way higher chance of reaching that goal and continue doing what you're doing with consistency. So,
I totally agree with both you guys say. I was literally going to say the exact same thing. I think it's, we tend to not break it down into simpler steps, and we're completing goals regardless of if we know it or not. Like you said, wake up, you make your bed. That's already that's 1 point. You start with 0 when you wake up, and then you make a bed. That's a small task. That's still a goal. You made your bed. And I think a lot of the times too is it's not about like the intensity of goals or how many goals you have. It's more so like, you know, like you guys are saying, consistency, having that consistency to constantly constantly progress towards that goal, and that will just turn into growth.
I agree.
Like, you know, you want to go or you want me to go?
No, you go.
Okay. Like, I'm going to bring up Devon's example from the podcast the other day, how he talked about, you know, he writes down his long-term goals, his medium-term goals, and his short-term goals, as in goals he's going to do right now. I think that's a really good practice because you could really outline everything, and it's almost like a game. Like, the more you do it, the more you kind of just check stuff off, and it goes away. When it's a game, it seems fun, and people want to do it more. Same thing with like the whole accountability mirror. That's huge in terms of making goals because it's like you create sticky notes, you visualize it, you see it every day, and when you're done with it, you take it off. It's like a game, right? You get to take it off, take it off. So when it's empty, right, you know you completed a lot of stuff. Now, obviously, I mean, me personally, like I'm never satisfied, right? You want to put more goals when it's empty, so that way, but make them even more detailed, make them even bigger goals, so that way it takes more time to take them off. So when you take them off, right, it's like it's a sense of accomplishment because it was a bigger goal. I think everybody should do that, you know, whether it's, you know, starting with journaling and then getting to the accountability mirror. Because honestly, an accountability mirror, in a sense, it's a lot of stress too. Because you look at something and you see all these sticky notes, you see all these colors, and automatically you're kind of like stressing out because you're like, shit, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this.
Well, let
So as
alone
long as you,
you're also uncomfortable with like the self-image you see, so you feel constant stress and intense emotion, I feel.
no, exactly, that is that too. It's almost like it's pressure. It's like, fuck, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. But if you do that in an organized fashion, so for example, your accountability mirror, say one color of the sticky notes is once again your short-term goals. That's something I could do right now. But orange is your medium term and red is your long term. So that way, when it's time to do these things, you see the reds and you're like, okay, look, that's going to take time to do. I don't have to do that right now. You got to realize that. But all the green ones, I can get that done within like maybe like a week or two. Maybe I can do it right now. So I think that's one thing people should implement every single day. And people aren't doing it enough. And if they are doing it, they're not organized enough, which is why the stress levels are rising in humans.
I really like the color coding part. That's such a good and effective way to just totally break it down and visualize. Like for me, I color code my binders for notes. So I have a notebook for this podcast. I have notebooks for like my own thoughts. Then I have like a random like little lemon sheet paper that I just write like a thought that immediately comes to mind, and then I'll transfer it onto something else or I'll hang it up on my wall. That's what works for me, and I like the color coding because when we even think about it in school, you know, when we had binders in grade school and stuff, how did we separate classes through colors? And it was an effective method. This is a really good way, and I really like that example, Miles. So I want to take this into a different route now based off of what I've just been learning. So I just finished Chop Wood, Carry Water. It took me forever, but I went really slow with it because every chapter is a lesson that is in a second-handed perspective. So you don't actually read it. You read it in the perspective of it being told in a story, if that makes sense. So one thing about a goal is that if you have one eye on the journey, you'll only have one eye on the goal. So what that really means is that if you aren't happy with who you're becoming during the process of achieving your goal, then what's the point? The goal, it's not about the accomplishment, because if you look at Tyson Fury, when he became a world heavyweight champion the first time, he totally let himself go, and you can totally see it in the news, everything. I mean, I don't know if you guys remembered that. We were young, but I watched a documentary about this not too long ago, and he also talked about it because he fell into a serious depression, contemplated suicide, and that's how he made his comeback. But it was because he did not love himself when he was going through the process of achieving self-mastery or a large goal, World Heavyweight Championship in boxing. He achieved it, but never felt satisfaction. You will feel fulfillment, though, if you are satisfied with the person you have become. I don't know if that makes sense. It's a complex narrative, for sure, but think of it. We have a goal. Us three have goals as being influencing leaders and spreading awareness about mental health.
Mm-hmm.
We had to progress to where we are today. We have a goal though, and we are still doing this because we are loving who we are becoming during this process. You get what I'm saying though? We feel more well-rounded. We feel that in order to obtain a certain goal, it's going to take everything. You know, it's not going to just take our physical effort. It's going to take our intellect, our emotional healing, all these different things. So becoming a better person should be the real goal. It's not about the accomplishment. It's about the person. Again, the accountability mirror is definitely effective. I use it all the time. Writing down who you want to become and then blossoming into that person, and that will give you everything.
I completely agree too, and it's almost like once you get to that point, if you don't love yourself, it's kind of like what now? And what now is probably one of the most depressing things that you could say, because it's like you get to a certain point, and it's like you're like, I have no plan now, and everything from there just goes kind of downhill because there's no other way to go. There's other ways to go up, you just haven't made it yet. You only set one goal, you made it to that goal, and then like I said, you got there, and you're kind of just like, what now? You know what I'm saying? So that's why I think it's so important, like you said, Gibby, is to love yourself, you know, and celebrate these little goals along the way. Because when you celebrate the goals, right, you feel good. It's like a dopamine release. And so when you get to that point, it's like, okay, I want to create another goal, another goal, another goal. But if it's just one and you get to that point, you're going to fall into a state where you're like, what now? I'm plateauing. For example, I'm going to use this weight loss thing as a phenomenal example, right? People, when they lose weight, they get to a certain point that say is a milestone and they plateau, they can't lose any more weight, and they're like, what now? I can't lose weight no matter what I'm doing, this, and this.
Same thing
There's
with
always,
Same
even
thing.
gaining weight,
Thing.
but there's always that one little minute detail that you're just not doing in order for you to get to the next level. Like, for example, like a video game. Have you guys ever been stuck on one level where it's like I don't know what to do? Like you've been stuck in it and you just kind of like, you're like, I don't know what to do. It's like that. But you got to really improvise and think about all these other ways you can just get to the next spot instead of just sitting in one area and saying, what now? Because to be honest, if you say what now, the only other way that you're looking is down, and you're just going to go right back to where you were before. And you may try it again, but if you don't change your ways, you're going to end up in the same position. And it's a cycle, and then you really end up in a depressive state. And to be honest, it may get worse. And it may take that for you to realize that you guys have to make more goals for yourself to really excel. And it sucks too, because, you know, I hate to see people get to their lowest just to realize this is what I'm doing wrong. Which is why I think us three, it's really important that we try to educate people to get out there and implement these things in their lives, so that way when it comes down to this stuff, they don't have to go through what, you know, some of these other people have to go through.
Well, I want to create a sense of imagery. I really like what you said. So first, I have an example. So when you said something about never being satisfied and loving yourself once you achieve something, let's break it down in the perspective of a mother. You know, a mother has kids, and that's kind of the consensus dream of a woman, is to be a mother and a nurturing mother. So say you have kids and you feed them everything that you have, all of your energy, money, time, but you don't save enough for yourself to love yourself. You're not going to feel satisfied, even if your kid excels at everything. If you don't love yourself, there is no fulfillment. But you have to love yourself with who you become. You have to, you know, make sure that you give your love sparingly and save some for yourself. Some people are just so, I mean, it's sad. Some people are so selfless, they save nothing for themselves. It's not selfish to do that. It's actually one of the most selfless things you can do, is to give yourself more energy so you can, you know, radiate more love and energy. But I want to give another perspective. So, like, imagine, you know, you were at this one stage, and this is for people who like to just give up on things. I know when I was a kid, I could not beat this one level of Super Mario. I couldn't. I remember it was like I still remember this. It was crazy. It was Bowser's Castle, and I could not beat it. It was crazy, and I just quit the game. I literally I never touched the game again. I tried for like months, and I just quit. But imagine now if I was told at that point I have to beat it or like my dog would die. I know it's crazy, but imagine I would find a way. I would find a way to beat it because I had a threat and I care about it, and it's still possible. I just need to take my time more and think about it. I just saw a reel yesterday of this entrepreneur talking about selling cars. And he asked one of he's like an instructor in this class of sales and stuff.
Is this the thing that you sent me yesterday?
Yeah, he asked his student, how many cars do you sell weekly? He's like, oh, between like 25, 30. And he's like, in a month. And he's like, why aren't you selling 50? And he's like, oh, well, I just can't. And he's like, okay, well, if I had a gun to your kid's head and told you sell 50 cars to save his life in a month, you would find a way, right? And the guy said yes. That's a really good example, though, of explaining to people you set your own limit on your own mind. There is a way, if you're patient enough and persistent enough, to find a little loophole. And they're there. They are definitely there. God has a plan for them to be there. It's just if you care about it enough, you love yourself enough to do it. I mean, if you're not satisfied with yourself, and you always are looking at yourself like, oh, I have pity, I'm a sob story, what are you going to accomplish? There's no successful person I've ever read about, heard about, watched that was not confident in themselves. I can't name a single person. Can you? Can you guys?
Not at all.
Not a single person. So you have to have some so you have to have some self-confidence. You have to approach something and know this is occurring because I asked for something and God's giving it to me, but I need to earn it. That's the way I perceive a lot of these things in life.
No, I completely agree with you. I wouldn't necessarily, tell people to think like that in terms of like, people dying or something.
Oh
dying.
yeah, okay, no, that's an
like no. I know you're not saying that. I'm just saying like, I just don't want people to take away from this. This is what we're telling them to do.
No,
but I see exactly what you're saying though. Like as an analogy, I completely understand that. Like,
okay, all right.
Very
I'll
powerful.
make a way more friendly example.
Okay.
You have to get a B or an A or something like this on a final exam to pass this class, and you need to pass this class. You have a low grade, you're borderline failing. If you get anything below a B, you fail. You are going to find a way, if you care enough, to get at least a B on this exam. Am I correct?
Yeah.
That's better. That's a better example.
Better. That's a lot
Definitely
better.
a better example. I got a little carried away, but I was rebuttaling what I saw in this.
No, I get that.
That's what I mean.
I get that. I just don't want people to take away, the wrong message.
Yeah, no, it's straight.
All right, so going back to Miles's point, I mean, I think honestly, in both of what you guys have been saying have been just, spot on. I think honestly the best investment is in yourself before anything else, for any tangible item, because we're the only thing that we're taking to the grave is ourselves, our ideas, our dreams, our wishes is within ourselves. And I like what you said too, is you need to love yourself before loving the process. Gibby, what you said, and I think that's totally true, is just loving yourself. Why are you doing this? You're doing this to become a better person, doing this to become a better version of yourself, and just having to keep going. And I like to see myself as like a stock too. You never want to see yourself tanking. You never want to see that stock going down, down, down. You always want to just invest in yourself and see it go up, because you want the best possible outcomes for yourself, and just wanting to believe in yourself. And I do agree with the only thing that's holding you back is the limitations that you set for yourself within your mind. So whether that's, oh, I can't, go on a jog, but if, like you guys are saying, like if you had to pass a test, so you have a low grade, and you have to get an A in that class no matter what, you will 100% find a way to, pass that class. And I totally agree. And then another saying I heard, which this is just for anyone that wants to accomplish, maybe they're stuck at trying to figure out, like you guys are saying, like, oh, I was stuck on a level and I didn't know what to, I didn't know how to beat it, so I just gave up right away. I heard this from Iman Gadzi. He's an entrepreneur, and he said, the person who makes 100,000 does not do the same things on their way to $1 million. And I honestly think that's, insanely true. There's always that one step, that one change that needs to be made to then, see your growth. And I think a lot of times we get hung up on, we get frustrated on not seeing that growth automatically.
For sure. I mean, look at a bamboo tree, for example. In a bamboo tree, you plant it in the ground, and before it even sprouts, you have to wait 6 years. So imagine right now I went out, bought a bamboo tree, and planted it. I'm not going to see it until I graduate grad school. You know what I mean?
Wild.
Doesn't mean it's not there. It doesn't mean it's not there at all.
Yeah.
And then as soon as it hits that 6 year, it grows over 90 feet within 3 months. So imagine that as being you. Your seed is planted within your mind. You have this magic in you, and you have this goal, these unrealistic goals that they appear to be right now, but they're not unrealistic at all. They're just seeds right now. You're kind of just rooting underground right now. You're setting the foundation, and you're gonna have one breakthrough that just shoots you straight up 90 feet in the air, just like a bamboo tree. That's how I like to picture it. My roots were, a lot of like childhood traumas and all these other things I had to go through, but they're making me this person, and I'm shooting through the ground now, and I'm growing. I really like that stock example. I never thought of it like that, but it's exactly true. If you viewed yourself like a stock, you would never want to let yourself go all the way down and lose money. Treat yourself like you are worth it, and love who you are in the process. I feel that's just where so many people go wrong, and that's where I think a lot of depression symptoms rise, is because people are accomplishing so much. Even females now, females are in the work industry, they're accomplishing a lot, but there's no satisfaction. We need to chase fulfillment, not satisfaction.
Now, I hope you enjoyed today's listen to the new freestyle. Make sure to like and comment down below any feedback or suggestions, as we greatly appreciate any feedback we receive. And also, if you are newer to the channel, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and also turn on the bell notifications. That way you never miss any updates from the Winners Club. You can also find our socials that'll be linked down below in the description. Make sure to check those out. Now, we hope you all have a lovely day and an awesome week. And until next time.